Everybody. Welcome back to Business and Beyond, the podcast where we highlight local businesses and learn about their successes. My name is Brian Braga, and I am your host. Today, we are joined by Silas Hejny, the head of sales and estimating for Ocel Metal Fabrication based out of Guelph. Silas, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Brian?
I am doing amazing, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. Just so everyone knows, I am on an ultimate frisbee team with Silas. He is an absolute beast on the field. So that's how I know him. And then he just happens to be the head of sales of Ocel Metal Fab as well. So this works out very well.
I'm very happy to have you on the team. And then turns out you're into business. That's golden for me.
Awesome. Now, to kick things off, can you give us a little bit of an overview about Ocel Metal Fab and its core services?
Yeah. So Ocel Metal Fabrication is a welding company. We do a lot of CWB, which is just basically certified for structural welding. So we can do buildings. We can do all the actual beams and columns. We do a lot of structural guarding. That's basically just following Ontario code. And yeah, that's our main bread and butter. And then we do some, off-branching stuff of unique things. We were building a statue for someone recently and doing signs for the City of Toronto art department and stuff. So some more off-branching, but mainly just structural steel, beams, columns, guardrails. That's our main bread and butter.
Nice. Do you guys work primarily within the Guelph region, or are you guys actually moving outwards since you mentioned Toronto?
Yeah, so it's actually really funny. We do 90% of our work outside of Guelph.
Wow.
Yeah, so most of the general contractors that we work under, so we're normally subcontracted out on jobs to do all the metal for it, where they're handling, everything else to bring it to a full building. All the ones we've gotten in with are mainly in Kitchener, Waterloo, Mississauga, Hamilton. We're in slightly with some stuff in Guelph, but majority of our work is outside of Guelph. Actually, we're trying to get more in Guelph, but it's hard. What you gonna do?
Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. And you're not going to say no to business if it's turning up elsewhere, right?
Exactly.
Business is business at the end of the day.
We're making money. If you got to drive a bit more, you got to drive a bit more.
It's part of the cost, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. What would you say sets the welding industry apart from other industries in terms of challenges and opportunities?
I would say that in the welding industry, it's a lot more bottom line sales compared to personal sales. Like I could meet someone and it doesn't matter if we hit it off or not. It's about the number we give them for the end result of the job. There's not much of that in between stuff. The personable stuff can be there, but it's really just a straight up numbers game. And then the amount of numbers you can get out to different jobs and hope to just land one or two, I'd say would be a big difference than a lot of sales jobs and other places are about that relationship and stuff, which we develop, but we develop the relationship after we get the job because we had the lowest price is normally how that goes.
Fair enough. Would you say your competitive edge then is your pricing, and that's how you compete against other companies?
Yeah. So a big way that we get in with companies is basically, I mean, bottom line of stuff for classic sales, just when I started, I did cold calling for months. Got my foot in the door with a couple of companies, but also got companies to know that we do metal fab. And one of the best ways that we get new clients now are people that I've been talking to for a year or two, but we've never won a job with them. We weren't the best price, but then their main metal fab guy messes something up. So then they contact us because I've been harassing them for 2 years now about, hey, let us do some stuff for you. And then someone else messes up, they give us a chance. And then I'd say one of our best factors as a company is all of our guys can problem solve. And so if we send people on site, they're not just sitting around, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for something next, or problem solving, they got to go to someone else. We are very much hands-on with every level of our company, and general contractors that we work with really seem to appreciate that. So once we get the bottom price in and then we work with them once or twice, they realize that we follow up with our craft very heavily, and it just sort of, they want to come back after that.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned cold calling and then harassing for 2 years, because one thing in the mortgage space as well is if you can't be number one, you damn well want to be number two, right? It's just make sure you're present, make sure you're in their face, being like, hey, if your guy messes up, I'm next in line, and I'm gonna do a damn good job. And it's 100%. We really have that crossover between both the industries, right? Of at the end of the day, it's a bit of sales of if you can't be number one, you want to be number two. And if that number one guy messes up, you're just right there ready to slide in, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Nice. You mentioned you cold called for a bit. How did you find that with the welding space?
Yeah, so cold calling when I started, there was two main things I did. The first thing I did was I Googled construction companies,
Nice.
and then I just clicked every single company. I double checked, I take a brief second, click their website, make sure they don't just do concrete or they don't just do woodworking. They would have some metal fab needs. And then just 5, 6 pages of the Google results. I call every single person, either leave a message or just talk to as deep into the sort of roster of their people as I can.
Yeah.
And then the second thing that I do, which was kind of a game changer for getting your foot in the door with companies, is government jobs have to be publicly tendered. So, like, anyone can bid on them, anyone can get the information
Yeah.
for them. So I would find those government jobs and I would look at every single person that is bidding on them and I would call every single person. And the best way to get to someone high up is just seeing, like, I look at the company, I see who their main estimator is or the owner, and then I call and you meet you get the admin or whatever, and they're like, "Who do you want to talk to?" I say their name and I say the project, and as soon as you say that, they don't question anything. They assume I know them already, and they get me through to the next level. And then as soon as I get to them, I'm like, "Hey, I saw you guys were bidding on this. We'd be able to provide a metal fab quote for this X, Y, and Z. If I could just get your email." And I've never, maybe once out of like 700, 800 calls, maybe once that went through to that higher level, did they say no because they did it in house. Otherwise, they want to see your number. They want to see if you're going to
Yeah.
beat out what they are currently getting. So I basically, yeah, just once you get in there from the government information, you can get your foothold in really easily. So
Yeah.
those are the two main ones.
Nice. Honestly, like that's genius right there. Just like taking the public bid, using it to your advantage as well. Because yeah, those companies are looking for people to do the job for them, right? And
Yeah,
if you can help them out, like and it seemed to work for you so well too.
yeah, yeah. I would say like the cold calling without any of that information was fine, but really the next level of stuff was when I would be able to present, you're doing this job and we can do these exact things on that job for you. So let me send you
Yeah.
a quote. And they're always like, yeah, of course, like send it on over. So that's, yeah, it's a great way to get it, any sort
Yeah.
of stuff. And it's slightly more better than a cold call. You get a
Yeah.
little bit of a lead.
It's a little warmer of a call.
Yeah,
It's not as
exactly.
cold. It's like lukewarm call.
A lukewarm
Yeah.
call, exactly.
Nice. Um, Now, since you've been in it for a couple years, are you still cold calling, or how are you finding your lead generation now?
I basically I started doing sales fully. I did a bit of half and half where I was still welding and doing some calls, but it was just the amount of work we had to do. I had to be on the floor welding at the time. So I've only been doing full on sales for 2 years now. I've only done cold calling once during that 2 year period, past the beginning several months, and that was in the spring of this year. We had a 1 or 2 week lull just in between sort of the cycles that government and also private work flows for our stuff. There are timings of before winter, before summer, it sort of slows down a bit and then picks back up. So in that slow period, I had like a week where there wasn't much going on. So I spent maybe 2 hours sending out cold calls, and I had 15, 16 quotes to do in the next week or two.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was, and those cold calls were once again probably lukewarm because
Yeah.
it was people I'd talked to a year ago, 2 years ago, so I had some information. And then just going back into it this time around, they did have something for me to quote. And it was really just, I had the time to reach out, so I could. If I didn't, so I do the estimation as well, which is fully reading the drawings, figuring out the amount of material, the amount of labor, man hours, and the amount of equipment we need, and all the costs to generate our quote. If I didn't have to do that, I'd be cold calling every single day, basically. But
Yeah.
I got to balance that, and right now, it's all estimation. So yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
one
Fair enough.
one day of cold calling within 2 years after my first like 3 months straight of cold calling.
Nice. It's nice to see the fruits of your labor finally paying off, eh?
It
Yeah.
it really is, especially on commission, man. It gets there
Yeah.
to a point where you're like, I'm not getting anything right now,
Yeah.
and then it finally starts to fall. The dominoes all go, and it feels good.
Yeah, it's like everything you're working towards, and now I've heard that you don't see it for like 8 to 10 months. Like you're just working for the future. So it's like you put in your hours of cold calling, you put yourself into the second place position, and you were really like setting up those dominoes for you to be successful where you are right now, right?
100%, 100%.
Nice. How have you found the welding industry evolving in the recent years? Like, what are some trends you're noticing?
So basically, we lucked out with our timing. We Post COVID was when we reopened the shop, and basically the government was trying to push for industry to get going again. So metal production prices were really, really cheap. So when we priced a job, the per pound cost of metal, well, steel, and all in general, but obviously for us, steel was much lower, like 30 cents a pound less than what
Mm.
it normally goes for. And so we sent out a bunch of quotes and we won some jobs. And then 3 or 4 months down the line, when those jobs happened, the prices for the baseline per pound cost of metal had went up or went back to like normal. So we quoted them where it was X, Y, and Z more expensive. And as soon as the job was won, and then several months down the line, when we go through to ordering it and everything, we were able to make even more profit off that. So that was a really good like start for us. Also because our overhead wasn't as big as a lot of those companies coming back from COVID. So we were able to, not undercut because it was just the price
Yeah.
that we had, but we were able to get in with a lot of those because people were getting back into it, whereas we were just sort of setting off with where the government was helping out in those areas.
Yeah. Were you guys
Yeah.
pretty paused during COVID, or did you guys have some things going on in
Oh,
the background?
we shut down before COVID. Basically, I guess the rough timeline of Ocel was my brother bought a welding machine and we used it in our side yard when we were in high school.
Nice.
So
So
very
that
quality,
sounds very safe.
very legit setup.
Yeah.
And so we did that for a bit. Eventually, got a small space, like maybe 2,000 square feet, and used that for a while. And then after a year and a half or two of that, realizing that there were some fundamental issues with our pricing with the business, we basically everything we sold stuff, just tried to get back to breaking even, selling all the machinery and everything. Because my brother had gotten a job with a really nice salary programming robotic welding machines for a company out of Colorado. So he
Mm.
ended up doing that for I think 2 years, and during that time, I went off to college to do marketing and sales. He did that for 2 years. COVID happened; they shut him down, and then towards the end of COVID, or the main chunk of it, when stuff was slowly starting to open up again, he reopened the shop because they laid him off because of COVID stuff, blah blah blah. So when he reopened it, he knew that I was doing sales and marketing, so I came back in. I have my welding tickets as well, so I came back to weld but also pick up to the into the sales area.
Yeah.
And so that led on to us then getting a slightly bigger space, and then keep on moving forward with getting more business, moving out to get more space, hiring more guys, and that sort of went on from there, from the beginning of just in a side yard, not even
Nice.
with a roof. It wasn't even a
Yeah.
shed.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really good to hear the growth you guys had between welding and sales. Since you've had both positions now, do you have something you've been enjoying more, or something you prefer? Do you miss welding full time?
I don't miss welding full time. I
Yeah.
can guarantee that it was hard work. It hurts your body. You're inhaling a lot of fumes you
Yeah.
don't want to, even with a mask. You have a gas mask on or whatever, your filter, and you take it off at the end of the day, and you blow your nose, and it's full of black stuff. It's
Mm.
not, it's good money for a reason. It's
Yeah.
not easy work. But now that I sit at the desk all day, whenever I get a chance to go out on the floor and just help out, I'm just so happy because it feels nice to do stuff with my hands, build
Mm.
something, any of that level of stuff. But 100%, I'll take sales over welding for a full time job easily. Um, I would at most be like maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. I'd like to get it on the floor, but that's just not how roles and jobs work. So it's just
Yeah.
not. I'm not doing that, which is
Yeah.
fine though.
Fair
I'm
enough.
My body's happy with
Yeah.
it.
I know you mentioned that it started off as you and your brother, and you guys kind of came together for this thing. And then you mentioned you hired some employees now. How large
Mhm.
have you guys scaled to now? Like, how many employees do you have? How many bodies do you have working under you guys?
Right now, we have, so in the office we have me doing sales, we have an admin, and then we have a draftsman doing all of our CAD drawings, and then my brother for management. So there's four of us in the office, And then on the floor, we have 4 guys as well on the floor. So 4 and 4 office, and then 4 people welding, site management, that sort of stuff. So we,
Nice.
we have in total the 8 of us.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Sweet. What are some common mistakes businesses make when it comes to sales in the welding industry that you tend to find?
Um, I'd say, I mean, it's kind of like a sort of classic one for sales, but go where the money is. Like for example, we've recently scaled back on the stuff that we're quoting. So we won a job in Fergus doing an addition to the St. Joseph's Public School. It was 11,000 square foot addition, all the metal fabs from us, and it was a good job. But at the end of the day, I think we made like 10 to 15% profit on that, whereas small jobs were making much higher margins. And it takes me about 2 weeks or so to fully go over quoting a whole building around 10,000 square feet, give or take a couple thousand. It's going to take me at minimum a week, maybe a week and a half. And we've only won one of those big jobs where I quote one of those, I quote several of those a month. So like a lot of my time is doing big stuff, and then in between I get all the little things done.
Yeah.
But recently me and my brother were just talking, and it's just not worth my time to put all those big jobs out, even though I love sending out a quote. I'm like, that's a $500,000 job. If we win this, it's huge. But we don't have the staff or the equipment to match the prices that bigger companies are able to get for those
Mm.
sizes. So now we've fully just cut out anything above like 10,000 square feet we're not even looking at, and then between like 6,000 to 10,000 we'll look at, and if it's simple we'll handle it, and 5,000 and under, that's where we want to go, because the big companies aren't looking at it, and we can really
Yeah.
work that and make a good profit off that. So I've switched in the last like 2 weeks. I've switched a lot of my time from doing big jobs that are awesome to quote, and it feels great sending out a $250,000 $500,000 quote. But now I'm just making sure every single $20,000 job, $30,000 job I can get out, our margins are higher. I can send more of them out, and there's just it's quicker turnover for jobs in and out. And with the big buildings, there's so much BS
Yeah.
of the one drawing said this, and this subcontractor said this, so now we got to do this or that. There's so
Hmm.
much this hearsay or whatever, and it's very nice to just get with the small job. So I'd say one of the biggest things that is a big sales mistake is not recognizing where you're making your money, where you're making your profit, not even just
Yeah.
bringing it, where you're making your profit, and just absolutely capitalizing on that and going for
Yeah.
it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, just forgive me for this next part. I'm just not too familiar with the welding industry. So for your role specifically, because you do a lot of estimation, is a lot of your time like finding your clientele, giving them an estimate, giving them a quote, and you're taking the time to like build that quote and your estimate for them to maybe not even accept it, or do you start your job a lot of times when you have like an approved quote, or like when you're almost guaranteed like a sale, or are you doing a lot of estimating and quoting for almost nothing? Like is it like really like a unguaranteed system?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Basically, yes, you are
I love
correct.
that for you. That's great.
But yeah, no, I'd say recently, after 2 years of having my clients and having companies that actively now they reach out to me, but that's only happened in the last several months where we've worked with them on several jobs. So now, if they have anything where they've won the job, or they have anything where they're close to it, or they're debating how the other metal fab guy is doing, they now reach out to me because they know that, like I said, one of our best selling factors is our guys on site get stuff done and we do it
Yeah.
correctly, and there's no one trying to waste any time. So like once we get on site, the companies love us. So basically they then come back and they ask, hey, we have this job one here, we just need like a 15-foot railing, can you do that? And then I'll send them a quote ASAP, because I know that they've asked me for it and they've already won it. But like I'd still say 80% of my week is me quoting jobs that go nowhere. Like
Oh, okay,
absolutely.
fair.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
most of my time is just spent wasted. Not
Yeah.
actually, but
Yeah, yeah. It's
yeah.
it's okay. You're putting in the work for 8 months from now. Maybe you'll be the second position for the next job. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's always
Exactly.
good to like have the work in. But yeah, it is enlightening just because I'm not too aware with the welding
Yeah, no,
industry.
no.
But
You basically nailed it. We're not getting most of what I send out, but
yeah.
once we work with those companies, they do reach out to us to specifically do certain parts of jobs that they
Yeah.
already won. So there's not even the bidding process.
Nice. And it's so good that you have that reputation as well. Of like you guys go there, shit gets done.
Yeah.
and you guys are super reliable as well. They know your pricing, they love you guys, and like that's a really good reputation to be building and having, even compared to bigger companies too, where there's more guys, which more fall through the crack. People are dilly dallying, they're wasting time, they're wasting
Yeah.
money. You guys, smaller team, but you guys are reliable. You get in, you get shit done, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like I've told the guys, they make my job easier because companies now reach out to want to work with us again.
Yeah,
Not with me. I'm just sitting behind a computer, but all the guys they met on site that did the stuff and did it great and didn't complain or complained professionally. Then I take out and like when we won the St. Joseph 11,000 square foot edition last year, that was about a $250,000 job, maybe 200,000. And as soon as we won that, I took the guys out and bought them beers because I was like,
nice.
that company reached out to us and we've worked with them and they said, hey, we won this big job, do you want to do it if you can match this price? And so as soon as they said that, I was like, I'm getting you guys beers, you just won me a job, I just had to quote it, like that was
Nice.
easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's
Easy
very good
sales
rep to have.
position. Yeah.
Oh, it's the best
Yeah.
now.
Nice. How important do you find networking is in your role of welding, and what tips would you give for building a meaningful business relationship?
um Networking itself isn't that big. I would say that like I picture networking as an adjacent relationship over is the connection. So you network with someone and now they can branch off and you have that sort of encompassing amount of people knowing you. But that really is irrelevant. Like I was saying, it's like bottom line numbers is how you get your foot in the door. And then once they meet you, you get a one-on-one relationship, but there's never really that need of networking past
Yeah.
that unless the business went under and then I'm just looking for a job.
Mm.
So, that's basically
Yeah.
yeah, like otherwise it's very much like individual to individual, company to company, but companies don't want to tell other companies about the good metal fab that they get because then we're going to go price stuff for them as well and they're going to have the same price competing on government
Ah,
bids and
okay.
stuff.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah, so
enough.
networking is really not a big part of it. Um I would say it's very much the individual relationship, but not much past that.
Yeah. All right. That's fair. What advice would you give to someone who's looking to build a successful career in sales or in management within the welding industry?
I would say, I mean, number one thing in general is like a lot of people early on in sales, they're very much in their head and they almost feel embarrassed about doing it, or they're like, someone's going to give me a hard time when I call them. And that's just not the case. Like, unless you're
Yeah.
doing like bullshit. Sorry, I don't know if I'm
No,
not trying to swear.
you're allowed to swear. It's
Unless you're doing bullshit scamming, no one
yeah.
cares if you're at worst they're gonna say I'm not interested and hang up. And
Yeah.
like otherwise, like you need to just start calling. You need to get out 50 calls a day at minimum if you're starting. You need to just get word out. And the more you call, the more confident you are. And the more that you have your little spiel in the beginning down. And then I would also say the second thing is knowing your product or knowing your company or knowing what you're selling is huge. Because early on for me, people would ask me questions and I would just sort of have to go along with it, but I didn't know what the heck they were asking.
Yeah.
They're asking about certain aspects. I'm like, yeah, we could do that. And then afterwards, I'm like, all right, let's see if we can do that. But now that I know what I'm talking about, like on the phone, it's just so easy. Like people really, I can tell they appreciate and they can tell when you know what you're talking about. So going into it with not only like a little speech for your little sales spiel, but knowing the encompassing information, so then the conversation when it goes to that next step, they know you're legit. They know that you know what you're talking about, and they know that if they go to you, it's not some middleman of information. You're the guy for that. So
Yeah.
that's I'd say the number one and two things is just get your voice out there. Even if you think it's embarrassing, it's not. The worst comes to worst, you might deal with one bitchy person, in which case, fuck them, hang up on them. Like I would highly recommend anyone in sales just as much as you can, just every single second you can call someone.
Yeah. Nice. And
Yeah.
that's really good advice for honestly encompassing all sales, not even just in welding. Like
Yeah.
I've tried cold calling before. I've been a cold caller, and like quite literally the worst thing that's happened is I've been hung up on.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Like
I've
that's
gotten
it.
texted to fuck off once, and like other than that, like people aren't that mean. Like a lot of people are
No.
just like very hesitant because they think it's a scam, if anything, and then they're just not interested. You hang up, you move on to the next person, right? But it really you start in sales, you're a bit timid, you're really scared. You really said it perfectly. It's just putting yourself out there and getting the job done, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And learning like your own confidence basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's huge because yeah,
Yeah.
even for me early on for cold calling, I was nervous about it. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't want to do it, but I knew I had to. And then now, if I call someone, I'm not even thinking, well, it's going on because it's just so standard and
Yeah.
just second nature now.
Nice. That's amazing. Where do you see the future of the welding industry going? Are there any exciting innovations on the horizon? Anything that you could see changing the game coming up?
No, probably
Fair
not.
enough.
It's pretty set. Like I don't deal with the like I know like I don't deal with the hands-on welding anymore. So I've been adjacent to the actual welding, what's new in the welding world for about 2 years now.
Yeah.
But in that time, and since I've gotten my tickets for about 4 years now, I've seen zero changes. It's sort of there'd have to be a huge innovation for anything to change. The main, I guess, no, actually, the main change is that some stuff is going into robotic welding, but
Oh.
that is very specific and factory welding, whereas
Mm.
we do custom fab and more of the individual items, not factory line stuff. So
Yeah.
I would say that'd be the biggest thing is that yeah, robotic welding is becoming more prominent, but um I don't see that other than taking out like some factory level,
Yeah.
like not even ticketed, just laying down tack jobs. It's there's no real change in the field, I'd say,
Yeah.
coming.
So
But I'm not super involved, so
yeah.
I could be wrong on that.
So there won't be a robot coming for your team's jobs, is what I'm hearing. Like
Not
you
no
guys are
no
pretty
no.
safe.
It'd have to be a real fancy robot.
Yeah.
We'd have
Well,
to get like
to
a
be making a
Terminator level.
statue. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. Sweet. Well, thank you so much for your time, Silas. If you guys want to reach out to Silas on social media, or if you want to get a quote for Ocel Fabrication or any welding quotes, he is your guy. Silas, if you want to plug your social media quickly, just your personal one or brand one if you have one.
Yeah, yeah. Just hit me up at Silas Hejny, SILASHEJNY on Instagram or Facebook. I guess I'll probably
Yep.
see it. That's also my email at Gmail. Send me all those ways, and I'll get you a metal fab quote. I'm expecting a lot of money from this, Brian. I need a lot coming
Yeah.
in now.
Yeah, no, guys, please message him, man. He has a knife on the other end of the screen, I
Pressure is
swear.
on.
Nice. And then
All
they do
right.
have a website as well. It's Ocel Metal Fab, I believe. If you were to Google them, you could find them as well.
Yeah, yeah. If you Google us, well, Ocel is OCEL, and that means steel in Czech, and we're Czech, so that's the
Nice.
correlation there. Means nothing otherwise.
Fair enough. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Silas. You guys can catch me on the next podcast on business and beyond, and have an amazing day.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Cheers.